Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast.
Oh gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
Wait, you don't like that?
No,
you don't like that?
No, I don't like that.
No, how about that? You like that?
A little better.
Bread makes you fat?
Does this count as annoying?
Just tell me what you want me to fuck!
Not you, and not you.
Okay, I think it's time to take off your clothes and jump me.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up!
Welcome to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. We're here today to do another Wheel of Trash episode. This time it's Brandon's, and we're watching maybe the biggest trash that we've had the pleasure of seeing, The Last Airbender. We are in our 2010 season, wrapping it up here by the end of the year. Thank you to those who have supported us. We do appreciate your continued support and continue to spread the word about us. We love the feedback that we get, and we appreciate everyone out there who is a part of our little family. Before we jump into the movie, let me introduce my wonderful co-hosts. We have Emily.
Hello, everyone.
We've got Brandon.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And my name is Ben, and let's talk about what's in our glass tonight. Brandon, what do you got for a drink?
I just have sweet tea. That's all I have.
Okay.
That's all I have.
And it's just like the sweeties in this movie.
Sweet teas.
Oh my God. So bad. Go ahead.
Emily, can you do better?
No, I really can't, because I went with a Wild State cider because I'm in a wild state after watching this fucking trash.
Wow. It's hinging on me, and I don't have a very good one either.
Well, we put in the exact amount of effort this movie put in.
I mean, you almost had to sober up to watch this. It's really bad.
In honor of the Fire and Water Nation, I've got Fireball and water.
Good job, Ben.
Yep. Killing
You
it
didn't
tonight.
just light the water on fire? Because that works.
My goodness.
Well, before we talk about Last Airbender, Emily, have you seen something recently you want to talk about?
I have seen something recently that I want to talk about. So I know Ben really likes D&D, and Brandon, you've played it a little bit in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And people keep talking about Critical Role. They're just like, oh my God, Critical Role is so good. And I have honestly, God fucking tried to watch Critical Role or even listen to it. And I'm sorry, guys, but when it's 4 to 4.5 hours an episode and they've got like 200 to 400 episodes, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. So, I'll watch Vox Machina on Amazon Prime. But all in all, if you're looking for something that is short and just as exciting and fun and D&D related, I highly recommend Fantasy High. Have either of you seen Fantasy High?
No.
I haven't.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you watching this?
Never heard of it.
I've never heard of it either.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Dimension 20 is a group on YouTube, and they have some pretty spectacularly done videos. Fantasy High is a short series. I think it's maybe 8 to 12 episodes. I don't think it's any longer than that. And each of them is maybe an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, which is so much more doable than 4.5 fucking hours and 200 episodes. But picture, if you will, a bunch of what you loved about John Hughes movies, not what you realize is bad about them now, but the things that you loved about John Hughes movies, and set it in a fantasy D&D world. The crew plays teenagers going to an adventure school and uncovering a dark mystery, and it is so fucking charming and hilarious, and it is a silly fucking time, and I highly encourage you guys to watch it if you're just feeling like laughing like a maniac. It is a great time.
Where can we find it?
YouTube.
Okay.
Do it.
I will look into it. And is it like an animated thing?
Nope. It's them actually playing, but what's nice is that they've done some editing. So
okay.
I don't always like the editing that they'll add with like some of the music that they'll choose, because sometimes I think the balance is off, but whatever. I think they still do a phenomenal job where it's not 1,000 hours of me just watching one tiny thing happen.
Is it required viewing, or is it something I can listen to and not watch?
I think you should watch it. I think you could listen to it, but the reactions and their faces, it's a great time. It truly is. And they have some really great minifigures and sets that I think you'll appreciate.
Okay.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why aren't you watching this yet?
I'm gonna start.
Good.
This week we did watch The Last Airbender, which is on HBO Max. The Last Airbender is currently at 5% on Rotten Tomatoes and was nominated for 9 Razzies, winning Worst Picture, Worst Supporting Actor, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Misuse of 3D.
Was Katara the worst supporting actor?
No, that was Sokka.
I'm sorry.
Sokka?
Who?
Sokka? Okay, that's what I thought it was, but okay.
Which character was Sokka?
The taller guy of the main 3.
The tall white guy with the ponytail.
Okay, with the ponytail. Right.
Last Airbender is just outside the top 100 worst movies according to IMDb, which I find very hard to believe that there are 100 movies worse than this. That surprised me that it wasn't in the top 100 worst.
You are the last of your kind, all that remains of a once powerful nation.
I knew you were real. I always knew you returned.
You are the only one who can bring balance to a world at war. But some will stop at nothing to destroy you.
It was written and directed, in quotes, by M. Night Shyamalan.
And produced. During promotion for this movie, he called it his best film he's made, making it better than the ones that he made before this, which would be The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, The Village, Lady in the Water, and The Happening. How could he possibly think that this was the best film he'd made? So he has gone back to say that he's full of shit.
Well,
but,
yeah, he's disowned this one now. Yeah.
But my God, what the fuck?
I have so much to say on this. I mean, like I got like 3 different angles I'm taking on this, but I'll wait till we get to that part.
Yeah, let's get through the cast and then we'll really
tear it to shreds.
Dig into this thing. Starring in this movie is Noah Ringer. He was a black belt martial artist who auditioned because his instructor said he looked like Aang.
Aang.
Not according to this movie.
Fuck off.
He had made no movies before this and only one movie after this, which is an entry in next year's Wheel of Trash, Cowboys and Aliens. So he's got 2 movies under his belt. Both suck.
Poor kid.
Also in this movie is Nicola Peltz Beckham. She was in the 2006 movie Deck the Halls prior to this, along with a movie from 2008 called Harold, which is about a teenager with early onset male pattern baldness who befriends his high school's janitor. I have to see this movie.
Why?
Because it looks so bad.
That sounds like a lot too.
Yep. It's got a bald Spencer Breslin in it.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, the kid from Cat in the Hat? No?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Oh, no.
Nobody.
Okay.
I'm lost.
You guys don't watch enough bad movies.
No, we really don't.
No, try not to.
Next person we'll call out is Jackson Rathbone. He was the Razzie winner for this movie and his performance in Twilight Eclipse, but let's be real, it was for this movie. He plays Jasper in the Twilight movies, and he was on a couple episodes of The OC. He is very bad in this movie.
Yep.
Lastly, we'll call out Dev Patel. He's the only young actor to escape this movie with a career afterwards. He was on the British teen drama Skins and was in Best Picture winner Slumdog Millionaire.
And in The Green Knight, which I haven't seen, but I heard it's a very good film.
You should definitely watch it.
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why aren't you
watching this?
I haven't had time. I have children.
Who cares?
I tried to watch The Green Knight, and I got a third of the way in, and I was like, I'm too fucking high to watch this movie right now.
There's certain things I can't do inebriated. I can't play sports inebriated. I can't watch movies inebriated. I cannot do it. I've tried.
Well, hopefully, Brandon, you can read the DVD cover synopsis.
Yeah, so in this particular movie, absolute fucking trash.
That was a wet one.
Ew.
Fart jokes are funny. I'll read the actual DVD cover synopsis, not that it matters. Ong, an extraordinary boy with incredible bending powers, journeys through an exotic land filled with magical creatures and powerful friends. As the Avatar, he is the only one who can end the age-old conflict between the four nations: air, water, earth, and fire. Age-old.
A singular age, got it.
A singular age, yep. Let's get straight to it. First reactions on this movie.
No one had seen this movie before, although I've seen the show. Ben's seen some of the show. Brandon?
I haven't seen a whole lot of it, but I've heard so much of the lore behind it and how like coveted it is as it's not even really a cartoon. It's kind of almost anime level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even though it's a Nickelodeon thing.
Yep.
But and I saw when I first saw the trailer, I thought, oh, this is gonna be dope. I was so wrong after the trailer.
I don't know why more than anyone else on this podcast, thinking about Brandon suffering through this movie just makes me laugh so hard. He texted me last night and he was like 30 minutes in and he's like, this is just so bad. And I just started laughing.
I never do that though.
No,
I never do that. I'm like, oh my, because I heard how bad it was. And this is like one of the first. Okay, I'm gonna go into like the three things real quick. I'm gonna get it out the way right now because I've been thinking about this since I watched it. So I know this is like one of the first films where they did the whole like whitewashing thing, right? It's like that was like a big deal that a lot of this film was whitewashed.
Okay, I thought you meant like this is the first movie that did that.
No,
not
the first movie. And it's not the first.
Where have you been?
This one really got called out though for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So like I don't have any reference to the actual anime at all, but my brother-in-law was sitting next to me watching, like he was doing something else. So I was like, hey, like, are these how the character's supposed to look? He was like, no, man, the people on like the water are supposed to be darker. They're like I said, oh, so they're like Pacific Islander or something like that. Like, yeah, they're like darker people. So when I looked to see what they had and like what it showed them as on Google in the like the images for like the actual cartoon characters, I was like, there's no way they should have cast these people in this film. No way whatsoever. And I'm like, wait, there's all these like Pacific Islander-ish people here, and like they got like two white folks in here, and they happen to have all the lore of the whole village. Like, how did this shit happen? Like, I had so many questions, and I was like, so what's up with these people? What's up with these people? And here's my first point. I'm hoping that Nickelodeon had so much to do with this and they messed up. They had their hands in so much stuff that they forced like M. Night to cast certain people. That's what I'm hoping. Cause like as a black and brown person, I think like representation means a whole lot. If you could have done that on this film, it could have been 100 times better. And it just felt like
yes.
It just kind of felt like I'm hoping they had their hands in it. The second thing is that maybe he was like already did the contract for it a while ago, didn't have any time for it, saw what it was, like, I'm not gonna do this shit, I'm just gonna trash it and just phone it in, and that was it. And the third thing was like maybe he really wanted this beach house with like the in-ground pool, and he said, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it for the cash. That's the only three things I can think of, because it is terrible. Like here's another thing, he has like an Academy Award winning cinematographer. Mm-hmm. And he has like an editor who was like on the editing crew for like Terminator 2, Titanic, and he edited all of Training Day by himself. Like, you have Hollywood like dream team guys, and it's the most incoherent. It's just a clusterfuck. Like, you don't know what's going on. I'm still, I had 30 minutes in. I'm like, wait, who are these people? Who are these fire people? I'm like, I don't even know who they are. And then I had my brother-in-law, I had to explain stuff to me, and I'm like, okay, like, but it hasn't even been 20 minutes yet, and like there was no pathway to get to where you're supposed to go. It was terrible, dude. It was absolutely terrible.
Okay, let's get back to first reactions. Emily, you said you've seen the show, you've seen parts of the movie.
Yeah.
This is your first time fully through, though.
Yeah, and I'm realizing that I either blocked out a lot or I've really only seen just the smallest amount of snippets of it.
Sure.
Because fuck, I did not remember anything. Like, nothing. Except for the giant wall of water at the end. That's the only thing I remember because I was pretty bummed out about that. Generally, I was kind of excited with the opening because they had a really nice homage to the show, with just showing the four elements in kind of the shadow and red background. And then everything went downhill for me. And I think the only reason I was able to get any sort of understanding of what was happening with the story, the only reason I didn't feel it was super disjointed all the time is because I knew what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And I was even having a hard time even knowing what happens. It was so disjointed and so confusing every step of the way. There'd be like that kid that just suddenly showed up and ran up out of nowhere. I'm like, where the fuck did this kid come from? Like, what is happening? Or we're suddenly jump cutting back and forth between different places. Like no time has passed and it's not like a super far distance and this world is super tiny. So there were just so many things that I was really disappointed about. And obviously the pronunciations are going to bother me. And there is the perpetual joke online about how this movie doesn't exist. There is no movie. And I know neither of you have seen the show. So saying that there is no movie in Bossing Say won't make sense to you, but that's okay. Either way, this movie was trash. And I'm really hoping that Ben also hated every second of it.
So I have seen the first season of the animated show, which is all that the movie covers. I went into this movie wanting to be the voice on this podcast that says, here's why this movie is actually good and misunderstood. That's how I went into this movie watch. And for the first 5 minutes, I was like, I might be able to pick some stuff out that I really like. Like, I agree, Emily, the introduction of the 4 nations with them like doing the martial arts and the effects, I was on board. I was even on board with the scroll at the beginning with the voiceover telling me what it says. You gotta be
fucking kidding.
I was okay with that. I was okay with it. The movie lost me so fucking quick after that, though.
Jesus Christ.
That's not even 5 minutes.
It is all the worst parts of the Star Wars prequels in one movie. It is crappy dialogue, wooden acting, glossy visual effects.
Oh, man.
It was singularly the worst movie I think I've ever seen.
Wow, and you love bad movies.
It's probably number 2 for me.
What's the worst?
The worst movie I probably have ever seen. It was this director in the 2000s. He was taking video games. He was making them into like cheap B movies. So he made this one. It's called House of the Dead. So I used to work at an arcade, so I really liked House of the Dead. It was like a shoot 'em up and zombies and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think I might have got maybe 30 minutes into that, and I was like, "No, I can't watch this anymore." It was bad. So, but he's gone on to do like he did a movie with Jason Statham in it. That was a video game that turned into a movie. He did Blood Rain, which was actually a pretty decent video game back in the day that he made into a movie that was bad too. This is literally like right up against like that number 1, because there was at least that one I knew for a fact that, oh, this is a group of kids going to a little, island for a party and the zombies there. It had an actual like line you can put through like, hey, they're going to eventually see zombies and try and get off. This was just like, it was all over the place. Like there was no establishing shots. Like technically it was just bad. Like I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that this ranks as the worst movie I've ever seen is because of the potential of what could have been. Like you have a talented director and screenwriter. You have a bunch of money that they're throwing at this thing.
So much money.
You have a talented actor in Dev Patel. I can't speak to the other ones about their talent levels, but Dev Patel is a really good actor.
Mm-hmm.
And even the supporting cast had good actors in it, like Nassif Manvi.
Cliff Curtis,
the guy who played Iroh.
Right.
They're all talented actors, and they're given nothing to work
correctly.
with. Isn't that how they say it in the movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
They say Uncle Iroh in the show, and you said it correctly.
It's just, Jesus Christ! It's so. And you know what? I think this is like the curse of anime going to movies. I've never seen it work.
Live action or just movies in general?
It's like live action. Like even like I'm a pretty big Cowboy Bebop fan. You
didn't like it?
I liked it. I liked it because I knew what they were trying to do, and you can't match that feeling that you have when you watch the anime. You can't, but you can try and substitute some of it and shoehorn some other things in there, because there's some things you can't do in real life that you're able to pull off in anime. My favorite anime movie is Ghost in the Shell. Love it. I could not bring myself to watch that film, mainly because it's like, I don't want my idea of what Ghost in the Shell is to be completely tarnished by this film. And then there's like, I think like my favorite like series anime, I guess right now, is like Attack on Titan. And there's been I think there's been a couple of tries in like Japan and whatever to try and make that live action, but there's certain things you just can't do. Like and people are so attached to that particular anime lore that it's hard to make that jump to live action.
I think one of the reasons that this movie fails so spectacularly is it tries to cram every major beat from season 1 into an hour and 40 minutes.
And they shouldn't have done that.
Nope. I read that the first draft of this script was 7 hours long.
Right? What the fuck?
Just make a TV show if you're going to do that.
Right. And especially when you have 7 hours of a script and you have this like full story, full flesh out story that is this 7-hour script, obviously condensed from the show. Of course it's going to be fucking disjointed if you try to hack away so much from it and try to replace some of the meaning behind it by throwing in some random characters that completely don't make sense and don't belong.
Speak more to that, please, because I don't know what you're talking
so there's
about.
A character named Haru, and his dad and family and a lot of people in the village get captured by the firebenders, and they're on a metal island essentially, so they can't bend earth. And when they're like, we had a fight, that's supposed to happen on metal where they can't bend earth because they haven't learned how to metal bend ever. And so like when you kind of just go over that so quickly, but you also combine the Kyoshi warriors into that and get rid of like a really crucial character in the Kyoshi warriors, it just doesn't make sense. And I understand if you're going to cut a bunch from a show to consolidate into a short movie, then you shouldn't be adding and trying to like flatten down story elements. You should really focus on the crucial important ones and work on blending them in a way where they fit together better, where you're not missing huge chunks of the story. You find a way to fit the pieces together.
What would you say the biggest differences are between the movie and the show, besides the name pronunciations?
Yeah, okay. Well, so the show in general, the first season isn't all that great compared to book 2 and book 3. Like it's good, and it's definitely a kid's show. I think the biggest difference though is the fact that this is not a kid's movie. This is just like garbage seriousness. Yes, Avatar, the show, has a lot of dark themes. Like the moment when Monkyatsu is shown dead, he's actually shown surrounded by skeletons of firebenders and people, soldiers from the Fire Nation. And when you see that, he's like sitting there in a meditative state, and it is a horrifying and shocking moment. It's not just him laying on the ground and Aang finds the necklace and recognizes him. It's this moment of realizing how Monkyatsu was just this fucking badass, because when you think about it, how did Monkyatsu kill all of these firebenders and without moving and meditating? And you think about it just for a little bit longer, and you realize he sucked the air out of their lungs and just completely suffocated them, you know? And so there are moments like they don't go into that, but when you start thinking about it, shit's dark. But then you have Sokka to liven things up, or Aang is just a goofy 12-year-old doing his thing, and you've got the animals and you've got side characters and even Uncle Iroh. There's a charm and a wit to it where these characters become endearing, versus this is serious after serious after serious, and that makes it miserable to get through.
Yeah, and it was a slog to get through. I have some questions because I want to better understand this world. Emily, hopefully you'll be able to answer some of this.
Okay.
Is the Avatar always of Airbender descent?
No.
Okay, they made it seem like he was.
They did?
They showed in the Airbender temple, like, Aang doing, I'm going to pronounce it correctly, Aang doing the test with all the elements in front of them. Are they doing that at all the other nations as well?
Well, it's a cycle, Ben. So after Avatar, Roku died, who was from the Fire Nation and originally a firebender. Then it gets passed to air. And then the next one is Korra after Aang, who is water. And so that cycle continues. So
that was
they
definitely not clear in the movie.
No, it was not at all. Like I was like, wait, you've seen the fucking show, the first season. You should know this. It's okay if you don't remember.
I don't remember that.
But generally, when they talk about this is the cycle that you're supposed to learn it, that's also the cycle of where they are born next. And so when the Fire Nation chose to attack the airbending temples, it's because they knew that Avatar was going to be there next.
Got it.
Right. Okay.
But of course they don't fucking show any of that. They just talk about the Fire Nation attacked just because. I swear Katara says something about adding in this just into the scroll beginning, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is shit. Get rid of it.
Is it just me, or was like motherfuckers was like scroll reading tough over here? Like it was a lot of scrolls in this scroll. I'm like, damn, these are people, some red ass people for. God damn, this education system is amazing here. Everybody has scrolls they can read off of.
Okay, my next question. Is fog considered waterbending or airbending?
So if either of you are on Reddit, you should probably follow The Last Airbender once you actually watch the show. Because I know for a fact Ben will finish it. And Brandon, this is totally up your alley. You're 100% going to watch it probably with your son.
Now,
so there's a lot of overlap and discussion about the different elements and just like the next steps of the elements. So sorry, spoilers. After Earth, there is metal bending because minerals and how it becomes, it originally comes from the Earth. Now it takes a more talented bender. And then like, of course, there's water bending, but like being able to freeze it and the ice of it, that is again something that is harder to do. And then there's another form of bending I'm not going to get into. And so like there is that overlap too, where they've had conversations where Roku is trying to save a bunch of people from like a volcano. And so he's trying to get like the heat and everything out, but also like bend the lava. And so then you have that weird combination of earth and fire and air and what is happening. And there's also steam. And yes, he's the Avatar, so he should be able to do all of it. But it also seems like, is this possible? Is this a thing that a normal bender could do?
Yep.
So I have a question. The young lady who was saying that she's the last bender in her town or tribe?
Yeah. Katara, yeah.
Can you not, that's something you're born into, or is that something you just have to train and get, like, how does that work?
It's definitely born, not trained is definitely a generational thing. It's not like some of the other fantasy novels that are out there where, it's random or it's because of a certain place that you grew up and there's like a certain magical element in the air or in the drinking water. Like literally these are fantasy things that happen. It is generational. And so the fact that her mother was a waterbender, that means that she had a higher likelihood of becoming a waterbender.
But her brother
And so the thing that you don't know is that their dad is not a waterbender, and the Fire Nation rounded up waterbenders and captured them and then killed them. So it was just like full on genocide to try to get rid of that and get rid of the line of waterbenders.
Okay.
Again, dark show.
It feels like the story you're telling me is so much fucking better than the story we got.
Oh my gosh,
I would watch that.
Why.
No, I mean, see, I would, because that makes it more interesting. It's like, oh, there's this whole reasoning why, and then like that makes a ton of sense. Like,
and the thing is, like in the first season, it's a lot more lighthearted. Like there's still these really dark elements to it, but you don't get into that nitty-gritty stuff until the second season more. And it's because this is Nickelodeon, right? There's supposed to be fun, playful, exciting things for kids. But I compare it a lot to the Clone Wars if you've ever seen any of the episodes of the Clone Wars. Similar thing. And they start out really lighthearted kid show, but then as you get through it, it gets a little bit like war crimey. And so this is also very similar. You know, it's a fucking war. They're children in war. And so you watch them grow up and experience this trauma, but it is a lovely story. And in this movie, it's just bland. It's fucking shit.
Okay, my next question, and I don't remember this as being part of the first book so heavily. Aang wanting to have a family, and that's why he ran away.
Oh.
Like, was that part of the story that I just completely missed it, or did they add that for the movie?
That was added for sure.
Okay.
It was more about the fact that it's the responsibility that scared him, and they were going to cut him from his friends and his loved ones of like, for example, Monk Yatsu. They were going to sever that tie between him and that they had a really strong relationship, which I will say the movie did put that together in a nice way in some of those flashbacks as Aang is going through some of his pain. But it was more, again, like I said, about him being thrown into this responsibility at the age of 12 and them saying, hey, there is an issue with the Fire Nation. We need you to learn every element immediately and stop him now. As a 12-year-old, you know, like he was scared. He ran away. Because I'm sitting here going, fucking Avatar Roku had a wife and kids. Like, this is fucking stupid shit. Can't have a family, nothing.
Yeah, I wasn't buying any of the family shit in this movie, so I had to ask about that because I did not remember that.
You were right.
Okay, last one. People are mostly water. Can they not just bend the water in their cells, causing them to explode?
I think you just need to watch the show.
Does that? Oh my God, does that happen? Blink twice if it happens.
I'm definitely watching it now.
She didn't blink at all. Okay, let's get into the good, bad, and weird of this movie. I think the good's not going to be very long, but we're going to start there anyway. Who or what won this movie for you?
I liked the production design.
Yep.
I know they spent a shit ton of money on it, but like those Fire Nation ships were really cool. And like the village design, I thought a lot of those things were really cool. The Northern Water Tribe city, I just thought a lot of the production design and those creative elements were really on par for just building this world. Just really cool stuff. And it was wasted. But you could tell someone loved their job.
Oh boy, was it wasted. And we'll talk about that in the bad. My winner was James Newton Howard. I legitimately like this score. And not even in a grasping at straws way. Like, it felt epic and fantastical. And it matched the tone that the movie wanted to have. Whether it actually achieved the tone it wanted, I don't think it did, but James Newton Howard was on point with the score.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
The kid who was Aang, am I saying it right? Aang?
Yep.
So like, I wondered if he actually for real knew martial arts or if he knew like Tai Chi or something like that. To know that he did makes that a little bit better. Like, I actually liked what he was doing and how it felt like a little bit believable. Like he was actually trying to get everything together to actually bend water and bend air. That's really it. Like, nothing else.
I agree with you on Aang. I thought his physical performance in this movie was very well done.
Yeah.
Anytime he was asked to speak or react, though, oof.
It was
he was clearly not an actor.
No, and I think that's when you have to be. You know, I even looked up the casting director on this, and he's casted probably 4 or 5 of M. Night's films, and he also did one of my favorite hood films called Fresh back in the day. Like, Fresh was actually amazing. But like, you almost have to say, all right, if we're gonna put some kids next to him, they have to be strong actors, because then that'll kind of elevate him a little bit. And they weren't nobody in there around that kid for any time that he talked was a strong actor at all. I mean, except for Dev, and he's only talked to Dev like twice.
Yeah,
the whole film. So it just didn't. His Tai Chi, Kung Fu, Muay Thai, whatever he was doing was the best part of the film. That was it.
When it comes to bad child performances, I don't ever blame the casting director. I blame the director. Like, you as a director have to know how to work with your children actors to get the best possible performance on them, or find ways to hide that their performance isn't any good. M. Night Shyamalan constantly shooting him in super up close when he's trying to do dialogue moments It's painful to watch, and he does it to all of his children actors, and it's just a poor decision on his part.
He does. That's definitely his thing. But the thing it's not to dog this cinematographer because he's no longer with us, but still, like, this particular, there's no establishing shots in this film at all for certain spots. And like, you can't get an idea of what the geography is if you don't actually have those particular shots. And some of the stuff that they were going to, and I kind of wonder if there's a cut of this that's super long and extended, that's actually a 4-hour cut. Like, there has to be some place in a vault somewhere, because it's chopped together so non-linearly. Well, not non-linearly, but like, it doesn't have a pace.
Yes.
And I think that's what kind of bothers me. Like, okay, if there's going to be a pace, like, you have to do that in editing. And then for that editor to be like, okay, I'm just going to put this together. It literally feels like everybody was out the door at like 4:00 and it was time for happy hour. It didn't feel like it was any, but then again, like I said before, I don't know what Nickelodeon had into that. If they were like, okay, we want to make this a longer trilogy and cut this so it's only this one film or something. Like, I have no clue, but it was just,
yeah,
I couldn't get behind it at all. I the first 30 minutes in, I'm like, this is everywhere.
From what I read, there's a 2-hour and 20-minute version of this movie that Nickelodeon told them you need to cut 30 to 35 minutes off of this. And I think that's why it looks like it's hacked together after the fact and not telling us the full story or giving us all those establishing shots. Because if you're going to cut things and want to keep the story and dialogue a part of it, you cut the establishing shots. It's going to make the film worse, but also you're keeping the meat.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a lot of meat on that, man. That's a very, very thin calf.
Yeah.
Very, very thin calf.
The only other thing I liked in this movie is I liked the idea of the action set piece where Aang is in the circle with the blade things.
Oh, yeah, that was dope.
Yeah, I like that idea. I didn't think it was shot very well, but I did like that idea.
I didn't think it was executed very well, but I did like the idea too.
Even that next shot, like, it's like he's in there and then all of a sudden he's on those like pillars. I'm like, wait, where the fuck did he just come from? Like, I don't understand that. And then you don't see like where it was until like 2 shots later. It's like, oh, he just hopped off of it and went over there. But I think that could have been really cool. Like, it's like you said, Ben, there's a lot of stuff for what this film could have been.
Missed potential.
And it's very, very hard to watch that. It was like watching a train wreck, man. It's like a very slow 5-mile-an-hour train wreck.
Another one of my favorite parts of this movie, which there aren't a lot. There's like 2. Production design, the other being the tattoo interpretation for the airbenders. So in the show, they're just blue arrows and they glow. But the detail that goes into the tattoos, I thought it was such a cool interpretation, something that I probably never would have thought of to do to make it more realistic and less cartoony. And I just thought it was beautiful.
But now let's get to the part we all really want to talk about. And that's the bad. We're going to go for a little bit on this, so just start throwing things out.
Sokka's not funny. And it fucking pisses me off. And I know that's a huge problem with a lot of the fans, is that Sokka does not have any humorous quips. You know, when I said earlier, this random kid shows up, he just immediately goes into, yeah, let's help you, instead of making a wisecrack like Sokka would. Or when he gets frozen by Katara and he's just like, maybe don't do this when I'm standing next to you. It's like, that's not funny. Sokka, you are a fucking witty genius. Why is this just this dead human inside?
And I don't think that's the actor's fault. I think that's the script's fault. I
think it's both. Mostly the script.
Well, there are parts of that Sokka performance that are truly bad, and it's not that he's not funny that it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's other things, and we'll get to those soon. The fight scene at the Earth prison. They try to do it in one long shot. It's an extended shot, an extended take. And I want to shout out the attempt, because I like that they tried to do that. However, the pacing and blocking is so fucking bad that it's unwatchable.
Like, the fact that they did a long shot, one shot kind of thing is not why it's bad. it is literally how they choreographed the whole scene. It's so terrible. Like, you have this whole group of earthbenders that are stomping in time, moving very slowly towards the firebenders, and then suddenly one guy hits hard to oppose and one tiny boulder goes towards the firebenders, and you're like expecting this giant explosion of earth and nothing happens. Like, what the fuck is this?
It's just that I even wrote down. I was like, so they say only those that can bend were captured. So everybody in there is a bender, and there's like 6 guards. Like, if y'all don't roll these motherfuckers real quick, like, what are y'all doing, dude?
And they're in like a canyon with rock cliff faces.
Rock cliff faces. That's like, oh, you know, hey, you're a samurai. Well, we're gonna leave all these swords right here, and we're just gonna have, you know, we have sticks, but you have swords. Like, I was like, get this shit on, man. It was, oh, Jesus Christ. It was,
and like, it's fine if they were going to make it into something else, like that they weren't earthbenders. Maybe there was 1 or 2 that were trying to hide and keep everyone safe because they were threatening the non-benders or something that are helpless. But there's a reason why they were sent to a metal prison in the middle of the ocean, you know? Just fucking stupid.
While we're talking about the fight scenes, I hated the use of slow motion.
It just didn't work.
And I understand why they did it, to like let us see the effects of what the water bending might look like, or water bending, or any of the bending,
or blocking some of the parts. Yeah,
I get the reasoning behind it for sure. It just doesn't work. And during the Fire Nation escape fight, where the masked guy that ends up being Zuko is trying to help Aang escape, Aang very clearly had an Asian female body double. And the second I saw it, I couldn't stop seeing it.
I was not looking that hard at all. I probably was checking out at that point in the film. It was getting to the point where it was like, y'all, come on.
I didn't pay attention at that point either. One of my semi-goods was actually the fact that Aang seemed to have like decent movements with bending, and now I'm wondering, like, maybe it was just all his doubles and he was shit.
Well, he was definitely doing all those Tai Chi movements.
Right, which was way better than Katara. Can we just call out how fucking terrible Katara is in every sense of the movie? There's a moment where she looks at him and goes, "Ong, we have to go." And then it just cuts away from her, and we're all just like, go where? You guys are all just following each other to no end.
There's a part where Katara says, "I knew you were real. I always knew you'd return." What is she talking about? Like, why does that need to be said?
Because it's not shown, Ben. They don't show it, therefore it had to be told.
But is that a character thing? Like, Katara had the hope when no one else did? Like, I didn't understand that. Like, did Aang need to hear that because he wasn't believing in himself? Like, it just makes no sense in this movie.
And then did like, I thought she didn't even know who the fuck he was off rip. So like, why would he be like, "Oh, I always knew you returned"? Like, you didn't even know who he was a week ago.
Yeah.
I will say the two of them, Katara and Aang, when they're talking for the first time, right in that tent right before Zuko shows up, I immediately thought this was a middle school theater class of just 2 awkward middle schoolers talking to each other. And then like looking at the director going, "Okay, are we done now? Can we sit down?" Like, that was totally the vibes I got.
There are multiple scenes where it's conversations between 2 or more people that are shot just in super close up. And it's such a poor decision because your locations and set designs, like Emily said, are some of the only good things you have going for you. And you're shooting it where Aang is taking up 80%. Aang's face is 80% of my screen. Like, just what a stupid decision.
I feel like M. Night shot this on vacation.
This was his vacation. This is like when serious. Adam Sandler does Grown Ups.
Yes. It's basically a working vacation. That's all it was for this dude. Then it's like, I didn't know what the hell, like, the moon spirits, the ocean's moon spirits were. I didn't know what that was. That's kind of all of a sudden popped up. I didn't like that at all because I felt like it took away from everything.
Generally, again, this could have been a really good movie if they had found a way to really focus on 1 or 2 aspects. They didn't need to go super deep into it. They could have pulled a Harry Potter, honestly. They focus on the main crucial points of what the world is and the main story. They got rid of stuff, but they were still able to get the heart of the movie. You know, at least the first ones. I don't want to talk about anything beyond just like the first adaptation, because this is also a first adaptation, right? But not only just the script writing and the acting being shitty, the editing, I don't know if you guys like also felt the editing was just garbage in how things were thrown. They felt so thrown together, like I said before, where we were suddenly at the Fire Nation and then we're now at the Earth Nation. And even if you don't know the show, if you're talking about two different nations and we're suddenly just like traveling back and forth like it's no big deal, it just feels inauthentic. It feels like there isn't this humongous world-changing war happening.
It makes your world feel super small. It's the same issue with the last season of Game of Thrones, where people all of a sudden are across an entire country. Like your world feels so small when you edit it like that to make it just feel like, oh, we're just bouncing around places.
I wish they would have just added the map. Like they use the map a lot in the show. And so you get this context for where things are and how isolated the airbenders are on their floating islands, essentially. And you get how these are very separate nations, and that it makes sense that there's always going to be this imbalance and they need the Avatar to support and bring back balance to the world.
Yeah, it was just bad.
It was just bad.
Can I call out my like least favorite scene that made me laugh so hard? I was so angry.
Please.
Okay, so the scene where the prisoners in the Earth Kingdom are talking to Aang and Katara and Sokka. The camera is panning behind Sokka, or whatever it's called. It's moving behind Sokka's neck, and then behind Katara's neck, and then behind Aang's neck. And so as the person in front of them, one of the earthbenders, is talking, like all you see is the back of people's heads.
Oh, jeez.
Like, what the fuck is this? I'm sitting here going, what is this choice? So that you could just move around to get to the front of Aang's head? Like, okay, guys, this is so stupid. Just so many stupid choices.
Again, this is the cinematographer from I Am Legend, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the Hobbit trilogy. Yes.
No
yes,
fucking way.
Andrew Lindsay. Yes, he passed away, I think 5 years ago. I had to look it up because I was like, who's making these decisions? And so when I saw that, I was like, they had to be cutting for time.
Yeah,
they had to have. It like I know you said there's like probably like a 2 hour and 30-minute cut of this. There has to be a 6 hour cut someplace because there's no way a DP would do that. There's like no way they would let them get away with not having establishing shots. You don't move. If you're moving with a purpose. And they like, it was so many shots where it's like, either like you were saying, there's extreme close-ups. Like you're not seeing the geography of the actual scene. Like so much stuff that was just cut out. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking like, this is the most, like, I've been on student films that have been, no, seriously. I mean, I haven't been on a ton of sets. I could probably say I've probably been on maybe 12 sets, like student films and regular production sets. And nobody does that. Nobody. And then I'm on the jungle floor. We have like a $5 budget, and that's literally for everybody splitting a Rice Krispie treat at the end of the day. Like that's it. And we are still more coherent than this. That's why I was looking at that. Like this has to be, somebody had their hands in this, or somebody was literally just dropping off money to M. Night on a nightly basis.
Honestly, I feel so similarly because there's so many moments in this movie that just make complete garbage nonsense. Like, for example, how did they not edit out the mistake of Sokka reaching for his boomerang that's not there and then trying to pass it off that it didn't happen?
I thought that was an attempt at comedy.
Really? Because I thought it was them, because that was the only comedic thing that they attempted to do, and it didn't fit with the character that they showed. So it looked like just a complete mistake.
The complete mistake I thought they made was they lingered way too long on Aang at the end, where it felt like it was a freeze frame, or that M. Night was yelling cut and the camera kept going when everyone's bowing to him and he's like posing.
That was so awkward.
Yeah. It did look bad.
Let's talk about the weird, and it's tough to differentiate weird from bad in a movie like this, but does anyone have anything that was specifically weird?
Their font choice. It really stuck out to me. It just felt weird. Yes, I am not kidding you. Their scroll, the title cards, all of it. I just was like,
papyrus.
It didn't quite feel papyrus, but it did feel weird. The font was like all squished together. The lettering just looked terrible.
My weird is they have the drill hats. The Fire Nation comes up through the Ice Nation's floor with like drill hats. And I don't know how that would work, because once that drill bit contacted something, they're just going to spin in the water. Like, that drill bit's not going to work.
Your brain.
Also, I thought for sure Sokka was going to fuck that fish.
That was weird. Like, it felt like they were just shoehorned on the back end of the whole thing. Like, in their fish, it's like, okay, I get, like what? Who's the uncle?
Iroh.
Okay, like what he said, like when like the other guy was like, yeah, why would they be fish? And he was like, it's because, you know, you have to be, I felt he said like, not like gentle with the world or compassionate or something like that, which I completely 100% get. But it just felt like it was
shoehorned in. And it's because you don't get the nuances of how important the spirit world is in the first season, and how Iroh, he's not fully Fire Nation. Like, he is from the Fire Nation, but he is a changed man from trauma, and you learn that as things happen.
Yeah, that was not clear. When Iroh went off the handle and just started like burning things by the pond, I was like, why are you mad? I don't understand what you're doing.
I mean, he did mention that, like, well, it was mentioned that his like son died in battle or something like that. And was it because of his mistake, or it just so happened he's fighting for Fire Nation and he passed?
We don't know in the movie. You got to watch the show, because the movie doesn't do shit about that.
All right. But and then it's even, you know what also I hate is how they, when you think you're going to get a sequel and you fucking know you're not going to get a sequel.
Oh, poor Azula at the end.
I was like, this shit is garbage, dude. My God. It was just bad, man. I'm sorry.
I think that's our wrap up. It was bad.
It was bad. We're not even going to put multiple corks in this thing. One cork. It was bad.
Agreed.
Watch the show.
Or don't care.
or just move on with your life. Yeah.
Everyone should watch the show. It is a fun time.
So you have a baseline of like terrible, like this is bad. Here's our baseline.
They're making new movies, aren't they?
They're making a live action show, but with
a live action show. Okay.
With not white people.
Oh,
so
good.
It's very a very well thought out cast of Asian descent. Like, they really put a lot of focus on it, and especially with the like inspirations of each nation is really a different Asian culture. Like, the Water Tribe is really Inuit, and the Fire Nation is Japanese, and so they really focus on making sure they found not just some Asian person to play a character. They really tried to focus on what was the inspiration behind and what is the meaning behind each fire or each nation.
As it should be.
Did you know that they originally cast Jesse McCartney to be Zuko?
I saw that. Oh my God.
And then when there was backlash on it, M. Night was like, okay, I'll make him, you know, not white. And then the only non-white main character is the bad guy.
I know. Oh my God.
Awful.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get that idea?
I just try to think creatively.
Okay. Em, we got some fun questions.
We do have some fun questions. We'll keep it short. So the Avatar, number one. The Avatar picks 4 toys to show that he's the Avatar, because that has been the favored toys throughout the Avatar. Now, I gotta know, tell me a toy that you pick for sure that shows that you're definitely not the Avatar.
The Slinky.
Of course you'd pick that.
Because then I'd pretend like I'm a metal bender. Look at me make it go down the stairs.
I'll tell you the toy I always wanted that probably would work. I always wanted Hot Rod from Transformers the movie.
Yes.
So
he's
that's
such a shit.
That's all. Well, he ends up becoming the one. So
yeah, but he's the worst.
He is. He's an asshole.
Yes. All right, number 2. Please, 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 please make something funny happen in this movie. Preferably something with Sokka, but come up with some way to make something funny happen in this movie. A joke, a pun, someone falling. I don't care. Number 2, find something funny.
I wish there was more with Appa. Like, they could have done something with Appa that would have been funny, like him sneezing and just,
snot
being
everywhere.
Super cute and snot everywhere on only Sokka.
Yes.
Like, the 3 of them are all standing next to each other, and Sokka's in the middle, and he's covered in snot, and the other 2 aren't.
Yes.
Maybe it's not that character, but I thought somebody from like the Fire Nation would like be too close to a torch and fart and it just like make a flamethrower. I thought that should be funny.
Again, this is supposed to be a kids show and a kids movie, and yes, there are dark elements, but like it just didn't have any humor. So thank you for making me laugh. Appreciate it. All right. Last question, number 3. We've got fire, we've got water, we've got earth, and we've got air. What is the 5th element that Aang has to master?
Love. The most powerful element of them all. Can he
Not
bend
chlorine.
it? No. What? Wouldn't that just be earth?
I don't know.
Space? I don't know.
He can bend time? A time bender?
Yeah. Go
He's
back
Dr.
and right
Strange.
the wrongs.
Oh,
There you
I
go.
love it. I love it.
Now let's all agree to never be creative again.
Well, let's jump into my game, which is called The Last Race Bender.
Oh no.
God.
There have been countless times throughout film history where the race of a fictional or even a real-life character was changed for the screen, or the actor attempted to portray a race different from their own. I'm going to give you a movie name and an actor. You tell me what race or ethnicity the character was supposed to be, or what race the actor attempted to portray.
Wow, Ben, I feel like this is really gonna be uncomfortable for me, but let's do
Why?
this.
Why?
That's fine. Me as a very white woman, I think this is going to be very weird.
You're not the ones who made the mistakes and cast these people or changed these. All you're doing is guessing. It's really just, do you know these movies well enough to tell me what the characters are supposed to be?
Which is no.
You might. Okay, number 1. Samuel L. Jackson in the Avengers movies. What race is that supposed to be, that character?
Is he Hispanic?
Nick Fury's supposed to be a white guy.
Nick Fury is a white guy. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Morgan Freeman in The Shawshank Redemption.
What's his character's name?
Red.
That's super helpful.
It should be.
Red sounds like a white guy.
Yeah, what kind of white guy?
A racist white guy.
Well,
a redneck.
I can't
He's a
speak to that.
redneck.
Ooh, it's Irish.
Oh.
He's supposed to be an Irish guy.
Because he's got red hair. Okay.
Yeah. Jennifer Connelly in A Beautiful Mind.
I've never seen it. What's A Beautiful Mind about?
It's
A Beautiful
about
Mind?
mathematician John Nash. So Jennifer Connelly plays the wife character.
I think he won the poster for that, didn't he? Like in real life, the real character. Did he win the poster prize for like mathematicians or mathematics?
Sounds right. Yeah,
I think so.
Maybe the Nobel Prize, not the Pulitzer.
Maybe
Nobel
Asian.
Prize,
I don't know.
Pulitzer.
Asian's a good guess.
Why? Why is it a good guess?
Because it's a non-white answer. And Jennifer
Like
Connelly's white.
Like I said, I am not feeling good about these questions.
Was she Russian? No.
Ooh, Hispanic. How about John Wayne in The Conqueror?
What's The Conqueror?
Oh, he's supposed to be Genghis Khan. So he's supposed to be
Mongolian?
Yes, yeah. Mongolian is the correct answer. Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Asian. He was an
More
Asian
specific.
guy. He was playing an Asian guy.
Yep.
Oh, Japanese.
Correct. How about Jim Sturgis in both 21 and Cloud Atlas?
Jim Sturgis? He was in Cloud Atlas?
Yep.
21.
Was he supposed to be a black guy?
No.
I'm trying to remember what 21 is. What movie 21 is?
21 is the cards.
MIT kids doing the card counting.
Right. I've seen parts of Cloud Atlas. I can't remember who he is, though. I can't see his face.
Jim Sturgis, the guy that he played in 21, was Asian, and in Cloud Atlas, Jim Sturgis wears yellow face.
Jeez.
Emma Stone in Aloha.
Oh, I wonder, Hawaiian?
And?
Asian. Hawaiian Asian.
Hawaiian and Chinese.
Jeez. I still remember that one, though.
Christian Bale. Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Egyptian.
Correct. Good job, Brandon. Last one, Mandy Patinkin in The Princess Bride.
I am assuming some sort of Spanish descent.
That's correct. His name is they call him the Spaniard in that movie.
Oh.
Yep, and he is not Spanish.
Inigo Montoya.
Yep, Inigo Montoya. Yep. Well, thank you for playing my game.
So uncomfortable.
As you can see, we've made some progress, but not quite enough.
No, not enough at all. Representation matters so much in these films. I'm glad they're getting it right, because that was bad.
Yeah.
On every level, that was bad.
Well, next week, we'll be watching another magical boy bend the world around him as we watch Christopher Nolan's Inception.
Nice.
Yeah.
Such a good film.
Thank you to everyone who follows us. Please like, rate, subscribe, share us with a friend or two. And you can follow us on social media at IDYP_podcast, on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, before we go, Brandon, in your best, intensely amazing Avatar persona accent, end the episode by saying, I drink your podcast, I drink it up. Commanding Avatar voice.
God, everybody was so dry in this film.
You gotta watch the show.
I do. So all I have is the film to go off on. So I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to go.
Delivered just like Sokka would. Yep.
They were so
The
dry.
only problem was your eyes weren't wide open the entire time like that.
No blinking, no blinking. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
All right, take it easy, y'all.